If you look at the situation we had to go through, we had to transform ourselves, both internally as well as externally. So from internal perspective, the time it took us to get even basic piece of information, because we are operating in so many countries, running under disparate systems with different set of practices, it was not sustainable in terms of the cost pressures we had. Also, from an external perspective, how we were managing our business model, and are we focused on our customers and what the needs of the customers were. So this journey has not only been an internal journey of transformation in terms of how we're going to have standardized processes, how we're going to have standardized systems, and how we're going to transform ourselves from the process point of view and integrate, but also a journey of how we're going to acquire new assets to build a portfolio to address the market. So we progressed ourselves from becoming more like a hardware company to now a solutions-oriented company, both from a services and software perspective. Yeah, this journey, we as finance played a very significant role because we were a trusted advisor to the CEO and our CXOs across the organization. So we helped and transformed IBM as an overall enterprise. Not only that we were transforming ourselves as a finance organization, but we were helping other organizations to be the trusted business advisor, which is one of the key factors in success within IBM of finance. You're absolutely right. Back in 1994, we were scorekeepers. We were consolidators of information. We were gatherers of information. We were not the analyzers. We were not the trusted source of business insight. And this journey has actually helped us transform ourselves to get that point. If you look at from where we were spending time, 30% of our time was being spent on business insight back in 1994. Now, if you look at it, close to 70% of our finance people spend time on business insights. Part of this achievement has been through how we actually standardized our own system and how we consolidated our skills into common locations. So supporting 170 countries and having different set of skills in each of the countries is not a sustainable model. So to provide the right platform, we actually got some of the skilled and center of competencies created in a few locations. So back in 1994, we only had about 12% of our resources who were in centralized location. Now, if you look at today, we are close to about 50% of our resources sitting in center of competencies. So not only that provides us a good base and sustainable base to provide the support we need to provide as a shared services within IBM, but also a great source where we can actually start to provide business insights to our local CFOs who are managing and supporting in individual countries. If an organization is complex, operates in multiple countries with multiple service lines, it becomes an imperative for that organization to kind of think about shared services and centralization. It also important in this age and environment, how you're going to actually manage your talent. So if you have two finance resources sitting in one country, and if you think about multiply that into 150 countries, you have similar talent sitting in 150 different countries. Now, how do you actually develop that talent? If you centralize, it's a lot easier to consistently provide them with the coaching and training from recruitment point of view, from talent management point of view, and progressing them from a scorekeeper to a business insight kind of delivery agent. If you have to do the same with two of these resources in each of those 150 countries, that problem is significant. If you kind of think about business insights is looking in the future. And looking in the future requires you to kind of not only understand the business where it's going, it's not only understanding where the markets are, and also looking at where you are internally, and your performance in the past. So we have to spend more time. So finance very quickly realized that we have to, if we have to provide futuristic views and insight, we have to focus more time on analyzing not only the internal factors but also external factors, and for that we have to use business analytics as a tool. So just as an example, back in 2009 we within finance established a setup, a management system where we have finance leadership advisory group that looks at how we're going to actually how we're going to move analytics within IBM and in finance. And that group works very closely with our IT organization where we have Center of Competency to drive business analytics. And we look at different projects across multiple functions and looks at projects within finance and within business units that can help us, enable us to provide more business insight. And then we work collectively with IT after we have prioritized those projects to go and implement on those projects. Business analytics not necessarily has to have an ERP system underneath. So I'll give you a simple example which is impactful in some sense. We within Treasury had an issue operating in 170 countries. How are we going to have the right visibility to our cash position? Can we get visibility on a real-time basis? There's no bank that exists in the world that can show you that visibility. There's no bank that has footprint in all 170 countries. So if you kind of think about the process and system, there was no process and system within IBM that could integrate that information. This is all being done through Excel spreadsheet. So we using our own Cognos FSR system and tool, we were able to integrate all this. And each of these Excel spreadsheets, which were being managed at the country level, now got integrated without it being exchanged through an email, without it being a telephone conversation. So again, this is a journey. So where are you in different sub-processes within finance? So you might be far ahead, let's say in your credit practices, maybe far ahead in your taxation practices, maybe in accounting practices. You might be ahead in Treasury in how you manage and measure your risk because you're doing your market risk trading at a global level, but your cash position is in a country. So you may be advanced and you may have systems to manage certain components of your function, but there might be areas where you're far behind as to how analytics can help you. So these are the areas, kind of the fruit which is kind of on the branches of the tree, which is kind of low hanging. There are areas that you can go and use analytics to help you. And then you become, kind of go to the higher end of your transformation. And I think this is also very important from a culture point of view and driving the right management system. We have to actually go and show that outcomes can be driven even with small implementation. And people have to kind of run and walk with you. So if you can go and show them quick wins, there is a lot more engagement you can get within organization, which can then lead into bigger projects where you can be ready to make further investments and bigger investments. People is one of the most important factor that you're bringing in. As you think about analytics is not only use of technology. It's understanding what outcomes we want to drive, and people have to be knowledgeable as they can help us kind of drive finance towards more business insights. So multiple ways to handle how we drive business analytics. One is for a business leader to kind of look at what's low hanging, to get a bigger engagement from the employee community, because now they can see, rather than they're collecting information, they're doing more value add work, which is from a talent progression point of view, they'll start to realize this is important. The other way is when it happens tops down. When there is something driven by the CFO or the CEO of the organization around a business model transformation, around IT transformation, around finance organization transformation, you tend to see that the employees kind of move towards that. That would require a lot of talent nurturing, that would require a lot of training. The third way I've seen which is being done is, which we did through our small group, which is Flag within finance, is that we actually reached out to all our employees through social media, through the jams we ran, to understand what kind of ideas they have, that then we can take it up, all the way up, to see what projects should we implement based on the insights we're getting from employees. Back in 1994, we didn't have the technologies, we didn't have the assets which we have today. The assets now we have today are not only the based platform, but they're also very industry specific, very functional specific, which have the best of breed processes. So back in 1994, we were even transforming our processes. And some of these process transformation happened because we had ERPs, SAPs of the world and Oracles of the world that came in with what are the best practices to kind of manage your GL. How are you going to open the books, close the books? That's all behind us. We have all these standardized processes. Many of the companies can go straight to these implementations. They have best of the breed processes, and on top you can add some of these assets to kind of get straight from a scorekeeper to more business insight and growth agent very quickly. So if I look at my personal journey, this is my third career. Started as an engineer, was then a consultant in telco and financial services. As I got acquired through PricewaterhouseCoopers acquisition, and then I kind of switched over into finance. I'm not CPA, no. And eventually, after my stint in our corporate headquarters in Treasury for 4 or 5 years, then moved into a mergers and acquisition role, and moved to China to help support our growth from a different perspective, not from a capital restructuring point of view, but more from how I can help. Kind of from an acquisition point of view, help drive that. It's important for me to have the operational and regional experiences. So this is my role in ASEAN. I'm certainly enjoying and kind of bringing together our worldwide view, having worked in acquisitions, and in a client perspective, having worked in consulting. Now, if I kind of take all this learning, what do I need to do in ASEAN region? We certainly have key priorities in the region. Finance is very focused on making sure that each of our finance employees are trusted business advisors. Now, we are all in different talent journey. It is important and key for me to ensure that I can provide the right infrastructure, right environment for each of our employees. As I mentioned, you cannot do right business analytics implementation unless you have employees who start to have a little bit deeper understanding of the business. So it's important for me is that to make my employees trusted business advisor, I'm taking my talent to the next level. I'm doing the right talent management, whether it's from the hiring, is it more from kind of education. That's the key for me to kind of drive a different behavior within the finance organization. It is also very key for me to kind of have a different level of engagement with the business leaders, whether use of existing analytics or building new analytics to kind of provide new insights in the region, which may be unique to this region, or bringing the tools and applications that we may have already instituted in other regions, which I'm aware of, to bring it into the region and make sure that we can use that business insight to drive a different growth in this region.